Hello everyone and welcome to episode 3, part 2 of Pulp, Punditry and Portchy. Okay, so in terms of following that, you got into the Conference South, so how was adjusting from the Southern Premier League level to that Conference South? You said you had to build the team again?
Yeah, obviously you go up. The biggest thing about the Conference South we found straight away was you have to deal with agents. We were inundated with agents calling us for this player, that player, a lot of ex-league players looking, being released by league clubs, looking for clubs. So that was a learning curve to start with. We had the nucleus of a good side, one or two were getting a little bit older, which we knew we needed to replace, but when you're successful, players want to come and play for it. So we assembled a decent squad for the first season, but we struggled to start with, and I think the biggest learning curve was we listened to too many people to start with. People were saying, oh, you can't do this in the Conference South, you won't get away with this, you can't play like that, and we lost our identity to start with, really. And I remember a game, I think we were playing Bromley away, we'd had a bad start, and I remember saying to Alex, we were playing a certain way. We'd had a couple of coaches in working with us that suggested doing different things, and I remember that game particularly saying that let's just go back to basics, just do what we always do. We're a rough and ready side, get in their faces, let's play the Gosport way basically. And we won the game. Adam Wild scored a couple, I think, on that day. And again, that sort of kick-started our season, and we lost our inferiority complex, really.
Yeah.
And once we won a few games, we realised that the managers in the other dugout were no different to us. Well, maybe we had them on a bit of a pedestal at the time.
Yeah.
And the players we were playing against were just players at the end of the day. Their reputations counted for nothing, really. So the first season we did well. We kicked on after a bad start, finished, mid-table-ish, which was the aim. And then really built on that, and I say that first season was the Wembley season. Probably detracted from our league form a little bit, being involved in the trophy, but the trophy was amazing. Just the run, not just the final, the whole thing really. It's from start to finish, after I think 3 or 4 wins in it, we started to really believe that we could do something. And that was the memory of that season, really. So.
And I guess we've heard from Lee about the final, and absolutely want to hear what you've got to say about, because you've obviously made that. What about the run-up as well, like you said about the game against Havant, all of that is amazing.
If I go back to the quarter-final, really, we had the toughest. We beat Nuneaton early on, who were, I think, 5th in the Conference Prem. We drew at home, beat them on penalties away up there on a cold midweek. And that's when we really started believing. We beat the big tough one was the quarter-final, really, away to North Ferriby. Miles. It's up
Yorkshire, is it?
Hull it is,
yeah.
As close as you can get to that. Stayed overnight, which was something different that we hadn't done before.
Was everyone on their best behaviour?
No one was on their best behaviour. My job basically was to try and keep a lid on everything, which was unbelievably difficult.
You go around like a teacher on like a resident.
It was, I remember, I can't go into too much detail, but we had lads like Sammy Igo, great player, great lad, but was lively as Brett Pope, Jamie Brown, people like that, real characters. But that was the toughest. The Friday night of that trip was probably the toughest I've ever experienced, but we managed to get everyone there. There was a little bit of doubt on the morning of the game that it would go ahead because the weather had been bad, so I remember getting up early, driving up to the ground at North Ferriby, which was a weird little ground in the back of some allotments, proper non-league ground, and it was all good to go. I remember ringing back to the hotel saying, we're good to go, get everyone prepared, and got up there on the coach, and great day. Sammy Igo was the star, got the winner in the game. We played really well, defended really well. Andy Forbes, Brett Pope, quality defenders, had real great games in that. And that really sort of we started believing then, and then we waited for the semi-final draw, and obviously pulled out Haven,
What time, yeah?
which was probably the one we all wanted really. I don't think Haven wanted it, but can't remember what the other one was. Cambridge and I can't remember who the other.
Another Prem side.
Yeah, I think it was. In theory, Haven was the us and Haven were the two lowest ranked ones in it. So yeah, when that came out, it was a real buzz about the place, and the first leg, terrible pitch at Haven, should never have been played, but went 1-up. Tinshill scored and thought we'd done enough, and they equalised, knocked us back a little bit, but the game had been postponed from the original date, and we ended up playing a different date, and it sort of lost a bit of the atmosphere. I don't think the crowd was as good as it would have been. And then the second leg was unbelievable. I mean, I've never seen Privet Park packed, and to win that comfortably was that was probably better than the final. Really, that was our final in theory.
At home to go through to that
in front of our own fans against our biggest rivals, and to play so well. That was probably the highlight of that season. And then the final, really, it was a bit surreal all round. Really, we made the most of it. I mean, we stayed in a hotel from Thursday to Sunday, which was a bit over the top, really, considering Cambridge turned up on the day. But it was our big day. It was our final, really. We were never probably going to do it again. So we trained at Reading twice. Reading's training ground. They really looked after us. And there was a lot of things about that final that I didn't really agree with. I didn't like. Probably didn't agree with the team we picked. Took a long time for us to decide.
I can imagine.
It was the toughest thing. Some of the players we had to leave out, and some of the decisions we had to make really were gut wrenching. And even on the day of the game, Adam Wild played for Cambridge, played in the semi-final, was a sub, didn't get on. Really gut wrenching to have to make certain decisions. But that's what you're in management for. That's what you have to do. And that was the season, and then the season after that we had a great FA Cup run, ended up playing Colchester at home, another big day, massive crowd. It just sort of went on season after season, but I think in the end people sort of expected it to happen every year, and then all of a sudden you get knocked out early, the money's not there, the money that the cup generated kept the club pushing on for a few seasons in the Conference South, but then once that money dries up, the club really had a reality check, and we were spending money that we didn't have really, and it was blatantly obvious that wasn't sustainable. So, I think I left in 2016, I think it was, and I just had enough really. Just couldn't deal with how the club was being run, didn't agree with it, and I'm quite principled in how I do things, and my job was to look after players and make sure players had everything they needed, and I couldn't do that. So I felt I was letting them down, so decided it was time to move on.
Yeah, I think when a club's like in the States, and by any means, like, it's not that Gosport was not the only example of that in the non-league. Sometimes there's so many there's debts coming out of the walls you don't know about.
Yeah, but it's difficult when the non-playing stuff has an effect on the playing stuff. Up until that period, my job was to manage the players and the coaching, and Alex's job was to manage the chairman and the club and the board, and he did a real good job of that up to that point, and then it started getting mixed together, and what they were doing off the pitch was affecting what I was doing on the pitch, and felt it was compromising it. And once you lose, if you promise players stuff and you don't deliver, you lose trust, and I wasn't prepared to put myself in that position really, and the players trusted me, and I feel I've still got a good relationship with all of them now, because I always did what I said I was going to do, and when I couldn't do that, I left. So, but it was time. I should have gone before that. I should have gone after Wembley, to be honest, because I probably would have got a chance at a better job. I wanted to manage. I only stayed as there. I was always promised that after a couple of seasons, Alex would move upstairs and I would become the manager. But the more successful we are, the more he wanted to do it. the more I didn't want to rock the boat because it was working. So I just went with it, and all of a sudden you're 9 years down the line, and I've taken a big chunk out of my career, which I feel I would have been, managing at that level if I'd been given the opportunity. So
sure,
so I probably missed the boat on that, but here I am.
Yeah, and here we are. Portchester. You came in with Ian Saunders as joint manager.
Yeah, Ian's a great friend of mine. I mean, Ian was he played for me when I was at Havant Waterlooville running the reserves. He was coming to the end of his career. He's in the army, based at Thorney Island. We had another lad, Sean Hale, who's running the youth team at the moment. Yeah. He was a player at the time in the army, and they were a big part of my reserve side. Sean went on to play for the first team and played for Salisbury in the conference, Welling in the conference. So I knew him from there. When I left and went to Fleet, he came as my skipper. When I went to Chichester, he was my skipper and my assistant manager. So we knew each other over the years. Ian had a great start in management at Petersfield, won back-to-back titles in the Wessex. So he came to me first of all and said, "Look, why don't you come in with me?" And it was a bit raw, and I said, "No, I want to have a bit of a break and see what the options are."
So this was a few months after Gosport?
Yeah, quite a few months. So eventually got bored, nothing to do on a Saturday, and I said, "Look, I'll come in," and he sort of sold it as a joint manager, which I'm not a fan of. But because it was him, I thought, yeah, come in, and I like the club, I like what Portchester's about. I knew Paul Kelly anyway, I like him. So I came in to see what it was. We had a good first season, won the Wessex Cup, lost to Havant at Fratton Park in the final of the Portchester Senior Cup, and we're building a real good side. And then, unfortunately for Ian, I think he fell out of love of it a little bit. He was living in Salisbury, travelling down. He had a lot of pressure at work in the army. I could tell he wasn't really enjoying things, and without going into too much detail, there was a couple of incidents, and the club decided that it was probably best to part company with him, and it was a bit awkward for me because I'm loyal to who brought me in. Yeah. He's a good mate. My natural thought was to go with him, but Paul said, "Look, I want you to take over." Ian was quite happy with that because he understood. Funny enough, it happened at Fleet. I got the sack and left, and he took over as caretaker manager there. So he reminded me of that scenario, and I said, "Yeah, fair enough. I want to take it. It's a club. I feel like we were building something, and I wanted to continue that in my own way." And Paul was really supportive and said, "Look, you're a big name for us." And I didn't really look at it like that. But he said, "It's an honour that you want to do the job." And I said, "Well, it's an honour that you want me to stay as manager." So we had a bit of a love-in, and off we went.
And so what we're about, I guess you're coming up to 3 years of it here, eventually. Yes. 2.5 seasons. Yeah. So how would you describe that period of time? Because we had that season, then we had one where we kind of dipped down, and then last season we we're well on our way. We had some difficult games to come still.
The funny thing is, the start, when I first took over, it was November again. November seems to be the month. If I'm going to get a job or something happens, it's in November.
People always feel that.
Yeah, that's it throughout my career. People have had enough of me by then, or something comes up. But that season, really, we showed him we're running away with it, miles ahead of everybody by Christmas. And it was only one team getting promoted. And I took over, and the first thing I said to Paul, we had a meeting, I said, "Look, Paul, common sense says we're not going to get promoted. It's common sense to cut the budget. Yeah. We'll go with young players. We've probably got enough points to stay in the league as it stands. But let's save money for next season because we want to have a real good go at it, and you want to get promoted, but it's not going to happen now." So we got rid of a few players that were, older players that were on better money, and went with kids, and it was real tough, a lot tougher than I thought it was going to be. And you go on runs of defeats, and you start slipping down the table. I think we finished 13th that season, and everyone's criticising you, going, he doesn't know what he's doing. And we knew exactly what we were doing, and we knew what the consequences were going to be, but we had to just bite the bullet and do it.
Sounds like F1, you've seen with like Ross Brawn with
yeah, but there's so many teams
there's
so many teams at non-league level that chuck all the money out to start the season, and if they're in a position at Christmas to do something, they continue. But if they're not, they just go bang. We're not doing that. And that's not the way to run a football club in my eyes. And it was also at the time when Press Finance had come in as main sponsors. Trevor Deacon is a friend of mine I've known for a long, long time. And obviously as a main sponsor, you've got a duty to them to try and be successful, to promote their business and to promote your own club. And we were probably doing the opposite. We were going backwards to go forwards. So it was a real difficult period, but all the periods where I've learnt the most about myself is when we've been struggling.
Yeah.
And that's when you grow as a manager, that's when you have to look in the mirror and go, right, you know, it's easy to jack in. And there were numerous times when Paul said, oh, that's it, I've had enough. And, you know, we got each other through it, and he supported me and I supported him. And I said to him, look, you know, let's get through this and then we rebuild for next season, and then you'll see the proper team that I want to build in the summer. And you know, last year we had not the team I wanted at the start, because we were building on the back of a bad season and recruitment was really difficult, because players don't want to sign for a side that finished 13th, and whatever you tell them you're going to do, the proof is you've just finished 13th in the Wessex League. So got a few more experienced players in, and we had a bit of an iffy start, which was really tough for Paul, because I remember one of his early interviews where he went in the paper and said that if we don't go up this year, I'm resigning and it's down to me. And I think he thought he was taking the pressure off of me when he was actually putting the pressure onto me. And we had a few words about that, and he sort of admitted that it was probably the wrong thing to say. But I said, look, you just got to stick with me. I'm confident in my own ability. We'll be there or thereabouts at the end, but it ain't going to be plain sailing all the way. And I think we lost to Cows early on, 2-1, and it was people were firing in from all directions on social media. You know, the wheels have come off and all that. But I knew the side I wanted, and I knew it was going to take time. And once we started winning games and building a bit of momentum, the players were becoming available from higher up, dropping down and nicking 1 or 2 here and there. And the players we had were starting to gel together, and I knew they had quality. It was just whether they had the guts for the fight, really. And then at the end, to be cut off in our prime, you know, we were third at the time. I think we were top of the form table. We were really flying. I'm not saying by any stretch we would have caught Alsford. I think they would have won it. I think people were saying Christchurch would have come second, we would have come third. We still had to play Christchurch twice. I still believed we would have done well in those games.
It would come down to that.
So I think second was achievable, but no one will ever know. And now we've got to do it all again. And, but you know, things happen for a reason, and I think maybe hand on heart, it may have been a season too early, especially with what's going on now, to go up to that level. You know, I think you need to win the league to get promoted into the Southern League, and that's the level I probably know best. And it's so tough to get out of this level. You know, it's going to be tough this year. Everyone's saying we've won it already and we're buying the league and everything, which is total nonsense.
The Wessex Galacticos.
Well, it's an excuse for a lot of managers can write their own excuses before it starts. I mean, I'm not really interested in what any other club's doing. I'm only interested in what we're doing. What we're doing is sustainable. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. You know, I always treat everything we spend as my own money, really, and so does Paul, and so does Trevor, certainly because he's the financial director. And he's a very astute man, and he wouldn't let us put the club in jeopardy. So, you know, we're doing things sensibly, we've got the right characters in, and we just want to get going now. I've got brilliant to get Molly in as number 2. You know, when I went back to Gosport for my ill-fated 3 months, Molly was the first person I ran, got him on loan from Havant. He was my choice to eventually be my assistant there if that had continued. And again, funny how things work. He'd had a season at Gosport, which I think he did really well under the circumstances. I'm real fortunate that the minute I knew he was gone from there, I was straight onto him, you know. And I signed him actually for Gosport originally because Alex was on holiday at the time, and I met him at TGI's. I'd known Lee before anyway, and I remember saying to Alex then, we've got to get this player, and he said, look, I trust you, just sign him, you know. And he's been like a breath of fresh air in pre-season. He's got so many great ideas. He's a good player, he's a good coach. Absolutely. And he's going to be a hell of a manager. I'm hoping that, you know, we can nurture him at this club and we can all progress together, really.
I love the fact I was trying to think of you two, like you signing him in TGI Fridays. You like got a contract with some like chicken wings or something. Like,
yeah, well, I'm vegetarian, so I didn't have chicken
wings.
It was a bit like that, but it was again, he's a great lad. He's, you know, epitomises what you want from a player, 100% effort. What you see is what you get. And it didn't take long. We probably signed in 2 minutes and probably spent 2 hours chatting football and drinking beer. So you know, and I'm glad I've got him here. And also Ben Buckland coming back to the club. I know he's my stepson, so people are going to go, oh yeah, it's a job for Ben. But Paul's been on at me from the minute he left. We've got to get Bucko back at the club. Yeah. And again, with Marty and Amo as well, we've got a great coaching set up. And Mark and Sean and Glenn with the under-23s. The whole thing has actually come together in how I want it to shape up, and you know, with yourself as well, doing the media side and the supporters club and everything. You know, we're building towards something now that if we do get up, you know, we're going to be a good Southern League club. You know, and that gives you the basis to push on from there when the time's right. I'm not saying you're going to go through the leagues, but you never know with football.
Yeah.
Been there and done it before, and you've got to have the club at the same speed as the playing side, otherwise things don't progress or they hit a brick wall and you go backwards. So.
Exactly, it's got to be sustainable.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And like you were saying with the playing squad, you can have all, you know, the Zidane, Figos and Beckhams of the Wessex League, but if you haven't got the right characters or the right kind of setup involved, then
it's got to be professional. And I think, you know, players want to come somewhere where the setup's professional, they're looked after. Even like Gibbo, the physio, Mark does a tremendous job in looking after the welfare of the players, and that's a big thing for a player. When you go to a club, you want that, and it's not all about money. Players aren't coming here solely for money, regardless of what people say. They're coming here because we've got a Southern League set up, and we're a side aspiring to get into that, and you know, that's why we're building a good squad.
Also, as well, kind of rounding it off, but what we'll do is we'll just finish with a few quick fire questions, I guess, on your career, player and management. Yeah. So, what would you say your best career moment, player and coaching, has been? Maybe excluding the Wembley.
Yeah,
I guess we've heard a lot about it.
I think playing, probably making my first team debut for Waterlooville against Bedworth at home at Jubilee Park. You know, that's what I've been working towards for all those years, and that early part of that season was, you know, I think I started the first 13 games or something like that, and that's probably my best memory of my playing career, which was pretty average. On the managerial side, probably keeping Andover in the Southern League for 2 seasons and it was a club I played for, which is always something a little bit special about that the supporters know you from your playing days, so they expect you to manage like you play, and I always gave my all, and I think I gave my all for that club. But probably the greatest moment was the Hemel final, the playoff final, just because we were 2 up. I think I went through every single emotion you can have in a game. 2 up, 2-2, extra time, penalties, and then, you know, Sammy Igo's nonchalant top corner kick, you know, was brilliant. So that was probably the greatest moment on that side of it. So.
Awesome. And in terms of best player you've played against in your
probably Peter Taylor for Dartford. Went there, hostile crowd at the old Watling Street, went there for Waterlooville, and we were, you know, a tough side at Dartford. Andy Hessentyler was playing at the time, And Ernie Bradley, the manager, gave me the trust of man marking Peter Taylor wherever he went for 90 minutes, and he scored the winner in the 89th minute, and I got a bollocking for it. So that, yeah, Peter Taylor, he was an ex-professional, great player.
Sure. And if you had to have a five-a-side team of your players from playing career teammates, who would be some players?
Blimey, yeah. In goal, probably Neil Hart, who was the Waterlooville keeper, very good, very experienced, played for Plymouth. Calvin Hoare, Waterlooville legend, unbelievably fit. A friend of mine, Bruce Kendall, another brilliant ball player.
You can have yourself in there as well.
No, I wouldn't pick myself. No. I was a runner up and down. Duncan Burns, another player, played a lot, all my youth football with him. He was a pro at Southampton, played in Ireland, played in the European Cup for Waterford. Great player, should have been a top, professional. How many am I up to? Probably Paul Wood. I didn't play with him, but I managed him at Havant. Great player, great footballer.
Right.
And then I don't know. I picked someone from our team, probably Steve Ramsey. He's a good father-son player.
Yes, very good. And just to finish off, my mate Chad noted your excellent taste in music, seeing you into the cold and things like that. So, what song do we have as your territory?
I don't know, I think I might go for a Primal Scream one.
Yeah.
Loaded or something like that. That would be a good run out song.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the music. Go to Glastonbury most years.
Nice.
So we'll make sure we have a decent playlist on the way out.
Yeah, awesome. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thanks for taking your time.
Even though Craig Arden moved it.
Yeah. he wants to be in the next one. He's getting his aura in it as well.
Well, it'll be more interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's it for this week, guys. Just remember to check us out on social media, Punditry and Portchy on YouTube, the Arancione Fans on Twitter. But until next time, all support you.
Right, that's our double header with the man himself, Mick Catlin, done and dusted. I hope you enjoyed the episode, guys. There'll be some more coming in the following week, so do keep posted on @Arancione Fans on Twitter and also at Arancione_AFCP Fans on Instagram. Make sure to like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Until next time, guys, Forza Portchy.